Mobile development in MVC4 is really great in that you can truly develop it once and run it anywhere. And what I mean by that is that the same controllers, the same models that you develop in MVC4 can not only render out to a web application, but it can also be rendered out to the phone with just having a slightly different view. This allows us to span various smartphones and tablets by way of HTML and CSS that has just become the standard in today's web development. MVC4 leverages browser-agnostic capabilities. What this means is that it doesn't really matter if you have Opera, Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, Firefox, the different web engines that run all these guys like Gecko, WebKit, and so forth. And what MVC also does is that it uses adaptive rendering to target these specific devices. And in the end, this allows us to apply the write once, run anywhere rule for this mobile and desktop browsers. So when we create our website, not only can we create it for a mobile application, but it can also run for any desktop browser at the same time with minimal amount of additional code. In MVC4, we can actually target specific devices. What this means is that specific devices can be isolated into their own specific views. Here we can have a specific mobile view for an iPhone, an Android, an iPad, or even a Windows mobile phone. This allows a truly personalized feel for the end user. It also allows us to compensate if a device requires, shall we say, extra care. And as always, you can always fall back to the default mobile view if it doesn't match up with the iPhone or iPad or what have you. So our safety net can be a default mobile view. What all this means is that we can really give a personalized experience. An end user that uses a specific device like an iPhone or iPad, that you can isolate things saying, oh, well, we know this works on an iPad or we know this works well on an iPhone, so we'll give it this extra little widget that will really knock their socks off, whereas we will deny that same widget over for Windows Phone. So you can deliver different experiences based on the device that's actually coming through viewing your web application. What's displayed in a mobile device in MVC4 is really up to you. What you have to keep in mind is how much data do you actually want to show? Well, this usually depends on the viewport or your real estate of your device's mobile screen. The MVC controller doesn't care if you are viewing the website via a desktop browser or mobile, so that's kind of out of the picture. Here, we are looking at different speeds that a mobile device can pull down versus a desktop application. So what we want to do is be cognizant of people hitting these pages, so we feed them the data as fast as possible, regardless if they are on a desktop browser or a mobile. So we don't want to send unnecessary large data to mobile devices on accident. If you improve the mobile device experience, it should directly correlate to a better user adoption. And what I mean by this is that people will understand that, hey, if I need to do some certain things within this web application, I really need to be behind a computer, on a laptop, or even on a tablet to perform certain functions. That's almost understood. However, at the same time, we should be able to access these websites with our mobile devices and be able to do a lot of the functionality that you could do on the web with a shorter data set. So instead of seeing 10 records at a time, you see 3 records at a time. And you're still able to do some of the editing and overall CRUD functionality that you normally would do on the traditional website. But you just have to keep in mind when you're developing these applications that there is a certain expectation, general public these days, with mobile phone development. Now we're going to look at getting Visual Studio 2012 set up for doing our mobile development, and we'll go ahead and start that off by just creating a new project for MVC4. So So let's browse, and let's go put this somewhere else. Folder, we'll just call this mobile development. MVC mobile. We could do a true mobile application, but what we want to do is do a split view between MVC and mobile. So in this particular instance, we'll go ahead and select internet application still, and we'll just apply mobile template to it for the time being. So while that's getting set up, what we're going to do is we're going to use another tool Microsoft has called the Web Matrix, so we can go get some emulators to build into Visual Studio 2012, like for our iPhone and our iPad development. So our MVC4 project has been set up. Go ahead and just close the home controller, just kind of get it out of the way. One thing we need to do is run Web Matrix. If you don't have Web Matrix installed, just simply go to Bing or Google and type in Microsoft Web Matrix download, and you'll get the latest version of Web Matrix. So this is a tool that has different templates and other add-ons that assist in web development if you've never used it before. But in our case, all we want to do is just open up any site. It doesn't really matter. You can click Open Site and say Folder as a site, and just go select any of your MVC sites, even the one we just created. It doesn't really matter. Web Matrix just needs something to look at. When we're within Web Matrix, what we want to do is click on Extensions, because we want to go get some emulators. And then the extension gallery will come up, and we'll have several options to choose to install. So while this is loading, basically what we're going to be looking for is the iPhone and iPad simulator. Now, I have already installed these for sake of time into Visual Studio, but this is essentially what you would have. You would have the iPhone, and you click Install, iPad, you would click Install, and then anything else you want, you click Install as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window, and because they are installed, and at this point we are done using the Web Matrix. Basically, we just needed it to go get those extensions and install them into our local desktop. So go ahead and close the Web Matrix window. And now what we need to do is to get it into Visual Studio, I'll go ahead and close that, we need to go to our app data directory. The easiest way to do that is click on the Start menu and then type in parentheses app data, then end it with the parentheses too, and just go ahead and hit enter. Now by default it'll dump us into the roaming folder of the app data, so go ahead and click on app data to move up one directory, and click in the local folder, and then we'll click on Microsoft, and then finally Web Matrix, and then extensions, and then the 2.0. And here we have our simulators that just got installed. Here is our iPad and our iPhone simulator. If I click into those, you see that there's this folder called Electric Mobile Sim. And that is the company that has actually developed this simulator for the iPhone and the iPad. So we want to direct at this application file right here within Visual Studio. So I'm going to go ahead and open Visual Studio back up, and we will open up our project solution. Now what we want to do is to attach these, and I've already attached them to mine, but how you attach them is you click Browse With, and a new window will come up, and then you click Add, and it asks you where the program is. So you click the ellipses button, and then you direct it at Web Matrix, Extensions, 2.0, in this case iPad Simulator, and then the Electric Mobile Sim, and then you can select that exe file. I'll just go ahead and hit it, and the argument is always going to be 1, and then you can give it a friendly name like iPad. And then you click OK, and then you turn around and do the same thing for the iPhone. So you go back up to the 2.0 directory, select your iPhone, select your electric mobile SIM, select the application, OK, put in a 1, put in iPhone, click OK, and you're done. So now what's really neat is that you can choose like your iPhone and click debug, and it will actually run the emulator and run your website within that emulator. So there's our default MVC site within the emulator, and you can even tell it to go landscape, which is pretty cool considering we got that for free out of the Web Matrix tool. So this has been an example on getting set up in Visual Studio 2012 to do mobile and iPad tablet development with your MVC application.